Have a great class.
Thank you.
All right. I want to welcome everyone. My name is Liz Ndoy, and I am delighted to be here to start our Art at Home class for May 19th, Wednesday, May 19th. And before we begin, I want to just remind everybody about our ground rules. I'm going to ask that everyone please mute yourselves, and we will be having time for comment and discussion later on in the lesson. But for now, please stay on mute. Thank you so much to the Hoboken Public Library for sponsoring this class and for supporting the arts, particularly during this time of pandemic, when the arts have been such a major boon for the community at large. All right. In May, we are celebrating Asian American and Pacific Island American heritage. And we have been looking in the last two classes at art by Korean American artists. We looked at two really wonderful artists, and today we are going to be looking at an Indonesian artist, and I thought he was Indonesian American, but I think I'm wrong about that. So this is a bit of a cheat, and he's worth the cheat though, because his work I think is quite wonderful and very different from anything we've looked at thus far. So I'm going to start out by saying I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but here we go. His name is Eko Nugroho, and he's known for his reinterpretations of traditional Indonesian media and techniques. He combines quite fluidly with a stylized aesthetic very evocative kinds of comic book imagery. He likes to employ humor, he likes to use vivid colors, and he uses embroidery in his paintings and sculpture. And he, like the artist we looked at last week, he likes to use community collaborations. He likes to work with others, and he also does performance art. Examining the performances, examine the socio-political climate of Indonesia and the contemporary urban environment of Yogyakarta, where he's based. So Nugroho enrolled in the painting department of the Indonesian Art Institute of Yogyakarta in 1997, a year before the authoritarian regime of Suharto came to an end. In the following years, known as the Reformasi era, Nugroho experienced firsthand the major waves of transformation across Indonesia, including greater freedom of expression and the import of Western comics and pop art aesthetics that allowed for an explosion of experimentation in the arts. And you're going to see, I think, that his work is highly experimental. Emerging from such a background, Eko Nugroho's practice draws from both traditional and contemporary sources, as well as Indonesian and Western ones. He has reinterpreted wayang, a traditional form of shadow puppetry, in a number of his works to discuss historical and present-day events in Indonesia. All right. He has done work commissioned by New York's Asia Society in 2017, which traces the history of Islam's spread in Java. He also incorporates traditional techniques like embroidery and the dyeing process known as batik into his work. Interesting, since last week we were talking about the tradition of batik in African fabric making and also Korean fabric making. He also uses tie-dye in his work. Since 2007, he's worked with a small village to create embroidered paintings characterized by enigmatic and humorous scenes executed in bold colors. Nugroho has said the artist's unique position in society is that the work of the artist will always be interesting if the artist situates themselves in their immediate context and records and interprets what happens around them. The mask figure is among the most recognizable motifs in Eko Nugroho's work, which symbolizes the human being's duality and the process of concealment. Also reminiscent of the artist we looked at last week, who talked about concealment as well as protection of the figure under fabric. Okay, so he's shown all over the world, including the United States, quite a bit in Australia, and also in Paris. I think that's enough biographical information. Before we look at his work, I want to show you some of the Indonesian art that I am lucky enough to own, particularly masks. When I lived in Australia, I collected quite a bit of Indonesian art. Look at this one. Don't get scared. Love it.
Whoops.
It's beautiful. It's carved from balsa wood, very, very soft, smooth surface. Here's another one. I'm not sure what this wood is, but this one is not soft. You can hear when I knock on it that it's quite hard. Another mask. Think about masks. It's going to be one of the options I'm going to give you for creating today in this period of mask wearing. I thought it might be fun. And then finally, I don't have a shadow puppet, but I do have this Indonesian hand-carved angel. The colors are a bit faded at this point in time. This piece is maybe 40 years old now. It's also a little bit dusty, but you can see the beautiful carving and very intricate details in the painting of this angel. That it is both genders. It does appear to be female, but it is both male and female. I love the face. All right. So that's some 3D actual Indonesian art. Now let's look at, yes.
May I share?
Oh, you have some Indonesian stuff.
Indonesian
Absolutely,
batik.
Janice. Wait, let me spotlight you.
It's a 40-year-old batik print.
Beautiful, yeah. And it's Indonesian?
Yes,
Scorpions.
40 years old. I bought this at the International Women's Bazaar from the Indonesian consulate.
Wonderful. I forget, is your heritage Indonesian, Janice?
I think we're of the same
Filipino.
race, but I'm Filipino.
You're Filipino, yes.
I told you.
We
Polynesian.
share from genetic.
We're from overseas.
Pardon?
Beautiful.
Thank you. There's another one, but I cannot find it right now. But thank you. I'm glad I shared it.
We're delighted you did too. Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to first look at some of Nugroho's work, and then I'm going to show you some Indonesian masks and maybe a couple of shadow puppets, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to make today. I don't want to spend too much time talking about other people's art because we are going to end early today. to talk about the art walk.
Liz,
Yes.
while you're setting up, just a quick question about the mention of a shadow puppet. I've never heard that term. Could you elaborate?
Yes. Can we wait till I actually show you a picture of one?
Of course, of course.
You're going to love them. All right. So this is an image by Eko Nugroho. And this, I believe, is a painting on fabric. And it's pretty contemporaneous. Notice the COVID mask. Love the patterning on this piece. I'm going to go to the next image really quickly because, as I said, we have to stop early today. So I'm going to whip through these pretty fast. I want to show you, he has incredible variety in his work. So I want to go through it more rapidly than I would normally do. All right, here for me, you're starting to see a kind of comic book fantasy imagery coming into play. There's kind of these serpent creatures. Notice the sword kind of thingies. I'm imagining these figures are kind of superhero people. Beautiful colors and textures. Let's look at some more. Think superhero too. I love, can you see the little peace symbol up here in this person's fist? These feel like female superheroes to me for some reason. Definitely traditional batik patterning in the fabric on these figures. Is this all one figure maybe with multiple heads? So again, we're into the kind of mythology, science fiction, comic book kind of imagery in this piece. This is a painting. I'm not seeing much embroidery, stitchery in this. He does embroider on his work, however. I think this piece may have a little bit of embroidery in it. Hard to tell. But you could see where stitching and embroidery would be very easily incorporated into the kind of images that he uses. Very surreal. Did we look at this one? I don't think so. Oh yeah, we looked at that one, never mind. Oh, here's one that I believe is sewn. Okay, good.
Liz,
Yes.
may I video you?
I don't see why not. It is being recorded, so it's on
Okay.
it's on the library
Website.
website,
Thank you.
YouTube website. Wow, people still trying to get in. Lily, did you get in? All right, yeah, so here you can see an example of one of his embroidered pieces. Wow, what do you think?
Pretty intricate.
Very intricate.
I love the darkness in the background. I love it.
Yeah, the black background really makes the colors pop. Awesome comment.
I like how it's together as one, like they're fighting as one or whatever.
Yeah. And these are usually done in collaboration with others. So he employs seamstresses, just like, remember the first artist we looked at, the Korean American? The first artist in May that we looked at.
Also, dancing suit or the sound suit guy did too, Liz.
Oh, Nick Cave, yeah.
I love Nick.
Yep. Well, so many artists now work in collaboration with others. There's the Native American artist from Jersey City, whose name I don't remember right at the moment, who employs Native American seamstresses. All right, so we've looked at a lot of Eko Nugroho's work. Now I want to show you some traditional Indonesian stuff because it's really going to get you excited for what we're going to create today. And I'm going to give you several options. So here are the shadow puppets that I was talking about. We're going to look at them first. So this is, I didn't realize this is a horrible image, Shutterstock. I have some better pictures, but this shows you basically the types of puppets that are created by Indonesian artists. They're actually made out of leather. They're hand cut. They are very intricate and very lacy, which seems like an oxymoron for leather, but they're very thin with lots of scrolly edges and very fine details. And they are intended to be seen through a screen. Wait, when you see this picture, you'll understand better how they operate. They are seen through a screen that is lit from behind, and the audience views it from the front so that the audience sees the shadows that are projected onto the front of the screen from the back. And they are held on a long stick. I don't know if you can see the sticks, by the puppet masters. And the puppet masters make them move and dance. The arms and legs move separately. And they tell stories. And there's music accompanying the action. And they travel from city to city and village to village, community to community, telling the traditional Indonesian stories. They're hand painted. They're very elaborate, often with gold as well as colored paint. All right.
Can I
So,
comment?
sure.
Ethan did shadow puppet at school last year.
Do you
Was it
have
not?
it available for us to see, Sejin?
Not right now, but I took pictures and videos, so maybe I can send it to you.
Sure, and I could email it to folks during the week. That would be great.
Sure. Sorry, I was invisible.
That's quite all right. All right, now we're going to look at some masks, because masks are one of the options that you're going to have for today's project. And soon we're going to get to work. So this is a traditional Indonesian mask. The masks that I showed you, my masks that I showed you at the beginning, are not painted, but most of the time, Indonesian masks are carved from wood and then painted in these very vibrant colors. Pretty awesome, right? So they too go along with the stories and mythology and rituals that are told as part of Indonesian culture. Let's find another mask. Why isn't this one opening up? There we go. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of racing through these images today, but I want us to have time to do our own thing today. Again, kind of frightening, but marvelous. Notice all the details, the outlining of forms to emphasize the bright colors, which really add to the fierceness, the big eyes, the big teeth. Pretty cool, I think. The gold paint. Gold is used quite a lot in Indonesian traditional art. And finally, I want to show you, and this will really, those of you who've looked at Nick Cave in our classes with us, or if you've heard of him and seen his work on your own, Mr. Nugroho also makes these incredibly elaborate costumes. Check this out. Yeah, it's open. So now we're back to our artist's oeuvre, as they say in French, his work. These are pieces that are meant to be worn. This is embroidered, but it's a headdress. So this whole thing is worn on his head, and then the costume he's wearing obviously on his body. So as I said earlier, he does performance pieces in which he dresses up in these fabulous costumes. And you can see how he's borrowed or been inspired from his traditions, from his culture, as well as borrowing from the comic book and the pop art tradition of Western civilization. All right. So any commentary on his work before I tell you what we're going to make today, what your options are, and what you're going to need to work with? Like, don't like? It was
I like how the faces are one with the environment. Like it's, I don't get a sense of hiding. I get a sense of belonging, which I really find fascinating. That's my 2 cents.
And he, in his bio, he talks about that dichotomy in his work, the kind of hiding behind the culture, the tradition, and nature, but also using it as pushing himself out there, as giving himself this kind of superhero aspect that enables him to have the bravery to be out front. So yeah, that's great observation.
So I just had a thought about the frightening images, you know, the bared teeth and all of that. And for the first time, I'm thinking of it a little differently, that it's actually making fun of you know, of the ravages of life, you know, and saying, you know, let's rise above it.
Okay, it could be that he's turning the frightening into the comic. There is a lot of humor in his work, so that's really likely. Awesome. So we have a lot of aspects of human existence to pull into our project today, as well as a lot of color, a lot of details, a lot of textural things that you can do. I think in the email that I sent out last week, I suggested that you bring fabric scraps. So if you've got them, they'll be helpful today. Paints would be useful today. If you have Elmer's glue, you might want to use that today. And here are your options. I thought you could create your own mask or your own puppet. Or the third and final choice is to do some kind of fabric collage or mixed media collage using paint or oil pastels and cut up pieces of fabric. Or if you have old comic books that you're willing to cut up, put it all together. Sound good?
Sounds good.
So gather up your materials. Here's my suggestion. You have, if you're doing mixed media, you have a lot of things to work with. So you might want to organize yourself by having a couple of overarching concepts. Do you want to focus on color and texture? Do you want to focus instead on just shape and line? Do you want to think about ideas instead? Do you want to do something about tragedy and comedy? Do your images, are they going to reflect sadness and happiness? So I would choose just 2 either art concepts or 2 ideas and organize the visual plane around those 2 thoughts. Questions before you begin? All right, well, I'm opting to do a mask because I love mask making. I'm not going to create a mask to wear. I'm going to create a mask to hang on the wall. It's going to be primarily flat, although I may use scraps of fabric that I collage on it.
I was going to ask you, Liz, does the mask have to be 3D?
It does not have to be 3D. Absolutely not. It can be a drawing of a mask or a painting of a mask. That was a great question, Margot. If you are a 3D person and you want to make a wearable mask, have at it. You can use cardboard. Those of you who've used paper mache and like paper mache, go for it. You'll never finish it in the amount of time we have, but if you want to do a long-term project and this artist has inspired you to do something like that, I encourage you to do so.
Quick
And-
question.
Yep.
Unrelated. Ebru's workshop, are they going to record it so people can watch it on Zoom if they miss it?
I don't know. We're going to be out of doors, so I'll ask Heidi if that's a possibility.
Thanks.
If I'm not busy helping him with, helping students, maybe I'll record it.
Well, Liz, what was the question?
Are we going to record Ebru's workshop?
I don't, we'll see. It's hard. We're not there yet, recording outside programs. I don't know how good it will be. What?
It's difficult because of the miking. You have to have a really good mic
Got it.
to deal with all the ambient and surrounding noise.
Okay. They're taping the coffee and paint though, right? For the 22nd?
Definitely, yes.
All right, because all of us that are involved in the art walk, I'm sure will miss that.
I know when there was the book launch, that certainly was recorded, but I don't know if Little City Books brought the mic for that or the library provided that mic. It's a good idea, Margot.
It's a good idea. No, we know we want to do that. I just don't know if we're there yet, but I'll ask.
Okay.
Thanks, Heidi. All right, gather up your stuff and let's go to work, everybody. Have fun. We have a lot of time left. That's cool. We have exactly an hour, little over an hour. I will be working on my easel. I prefer that you don't watch me, but as always, if you're stuck on ideas, it might help you to glance up every now and then to see what I'm doing. I'm gonna plug in my hot glue gun in case I need it. Elmer's glue, if you're intending to glue fabric onto this piece, Elmer's glue is really the best, or a hot glue gun if you're lucky enough to have one. Things like glue sticks will not work with fabric. So I'm going to start probably with an oval shape for my mask. I'm going to start with Sharpie. More like an alien shape. I'm looking at this Indonesian mask for inspiration. And I like how the traditional masks in Indonesia are divided into sections. And I'm going to play with that. Idea. The fun part about doing masks is you can really let your imagination go wild. Mask making is pretty universal. Just about every culture on Earth has some form of mask making. And I've divided my mask into sections. I think I'm going to work first with paint and then maybe fabric collage. As always, I recommend filling in your larger areas with flat color first. And that's what I'm going to do. Oh, wasn't my most clever move. Make sure the top is screwed on tightly before you shake your paint. those of you who love embroidery and stitching, be inspired by Eko's work and stitch on your pieces as well. I forgot to mention that. Now mine is too wet at this point, but once it's dry, I have that option. I may do that later. One of my favorite things to do is sewing paper. I'm not sure why, but I just find it really satisfying. Stitching through paper.
Liz, when you stitch on paper, do you use any certain type of needles?
Well, it really depends on the kind of thread you want to use. If it's an embroidery thread, you need a needle with a larger eye.
Okay.
Of course, if you're stitching through thin paper, you don't want a big needle, you want a finer point needle. So you're going to have to figure that out. You're going to have to weigh, you're going to have to counterbalance what kind of thread you want to use with the thickness of the paper. Do you understand
Okay.
what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're going to have to experiment.
Exactly.
One of my favorite things about doing art is the experimentation.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm just filling in my large shapes first, as I mentioned before. Because that will give me a base to build on. After I have these shapes in place, then I can cut and glue if I choose to. This hot weather, the paint is drying really fast. So in a mixed media piece, that's a good thing. Everybody good? No problems. Right. So I want to do the background. I'm not sure if I want to go dark or bright. I'm going to go dark. My background.
Liz,
Yes.
here's another piece I've been keeping for almost 45 years.
Okay, wait.
Hello,
It
Hi,
didn't-
good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Welcome.
Mhm.
It's it's a table napkin, cocktail napkin.
Oh, yes. Oh, see, it's a shadow puppet. Everybody look up if you'd like. This really, you can see the lost wax process in doing the batik. So wherever it's light colors on the black fabric is where the wax was. And it prevented the black dye from sticking. Really beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janice.
Really beautiful.
Thank
Yeah,
I
it
can't
is.
believe you've held on to it for that long. It's amazing.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm glad I could share that. I've been keeping it for many, many years. I never wanted to part with them.
I don't blame you. Helen, you have a
Mhm.
choice of making a mask,
Uh-huh. A map?
a puppet, or a straight collage.
Oh, okay. Thanks. But we have to color it after that? We have to paint it? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, make it colorful.
Okay. A map or puppet?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We looked at the artist
So-
today. It's from the islands of Indonesia,
Mhm.
and the traditional art forms of Indonesia are masks and puppets, shadow puppets.
Mhm.
And he was inspired by the traditional art of his homeland.
Okay. So, how we have to do the map? Like, just draw it or paint it or what?
Yes, you can do a painting of a mask. You don't have to make a three-dimensional mask to wear. You can make a painting of a mask.
Oh,
If you want to make a mask to wear, you can try to do that, but you don't have to.
uh-huh. And if you do a puppet, how you have to do it?
You could do a drawing of a puppet or a painting of
Oh,
a,
okay. All right. Thank you.
because you
So
don't
it's a
have to-
max.
I don't think
It's
you
a
have,
max. Hello?
I don't
It's
think,
a max. Uh-huh.
yes.
You don't think what? Hello?
Think you have enough materials to make a full puppet.
Oh, okay. So I'll do a map better. A map or max? You mean a max?
Mask. Like,
Oh, okay, a max.
right, a face mask.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Have fun.
Mhm. That's for this week.
Yep, that's what we're working on right now. That's what we're doing
Oh, okay.
today.
Okay. Because I did the other one, that one that you sent me, the superheroes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. You should send me a picture of that.
Okay, I will.
but that's dark for sure. So I could have opted to keep the background around my mask white, but I think you need to work on your background, everybody. The background really makes the image that you're trying to show stand out. It pulls all the different parts of your image together. So I'm gonna let this dry for a little bit. While it's drying, I'm gonna start thinking about the fabric that I want to incorporate. What am I gonna use? Not sure. Still have a good 30 minutes before we have to stop. I think I'm gonna play around with my background area first. Collage. Let's see. This is not working.
Unknown caller.
Trying to shift everything so I can get closer to my hot glue gun. gonna start using some oil pastels as well, now that my paint is starting to dry out. And I'm finding that the fabric collage is not doing, it's not giving it the pop that I wanted to have. So let's see what the oil pastels provide. That might give the emphasis that I want to have. Once your paint is dry, you can always draw on top of it. That's always an option. Starting to add details. So fun. And just a reminder today, we are not going to stop early for sharing, but we are, excuse me, we are going to stop in order to talk about the art walk, which is coming up on Saturday, this Saturday, May 22nd. Artists will be showing art all over Hoboken. Artists and crafts people from 11 a.m. till 4 p.m. And there's a whole bunch of people on this Zoom who will be showing their art in Church Square Park. I will be showing art along with my husband, Ebru, at 235 Garden Street as well. So we're going to be talking about that art walk in the last 15 minutes of class. So we have a little more than 15 minutes of work time left. I hope everyone's having a great time. Since we don't have time to share today, which I hate, my favorite part of this class is when we share. Please send me, I'm going to put my email in the chat box. Please send me JPEGs. And the artist name for today, Eko Nugroho. I'm putting his name in the chat box. And the art walk information. It's not supposed to rain, but the rain date is Sunday, May 23rd. Oh, and I have to tell you the artist for next week. So let me look that up. Oh, I think I know who it is. I think I just remembered. One of my all-time favorite artists.
Liz, excuse me.
Yes, Helen.
Hello?
Yes.
They're gonna have a barbecue next Thursday in the multi.
Oh, great.
If anybody wants to go, they're invited.
Can you say that again?
They're gonna have a barbecue next Thursday
Do you know what
in the
time?
multi. No, that's what I don't know. What time is it?
Is it the senior center?
Yeah. Yes.
So that must mean they're reopening.
Yeah, are you saying the senior center is reopening to seniors?
They're gonna have the barbecue. Yeah.
And people gonna sit indoors?
Probably not.
I don't know about that. I don't know about
Okay.
that.
When is it?
Next Thursday.
I'm gonna come by and say hi.
Me too.
Yeah, I miss
So,
All right.
it's outdoor will be.
I'm guessing it's probably outdoors, Shirley.
Yeah, that's what they told me. Outdoor, I think someone told me.
Here's what I would recommend. Those of you who want to have art classes there again, if we all pop in and talk to Tommy and tell him we would like to have outdoor art classes in the summer, maybe he'll let us do it.
Oh, yes, sure.
Is there any space that's covered there, or is it like a parking area? Where's the outdoor space?
There's outdoor space behind the senior center. The only problem is Leo's restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They eat outside there. They're using the 2 sidewalks. Yeah.
Mm.
They have some of that space now, so I don't know
Oh, okay.
if that's available, but we could ask. As my
Mhm.
mother always said, it never
Doesn't hurt.
hurts to ask.
Yeah.
And if many of us ask, if you want it to happen, it might. Many people have been telling me they want those classes back. That's why I'm bringing it up. I'm not ready to do it indoors. I have to be honest. But if he'll allow us to do it outdoors, that's a whole nother thing.
How are the senior events publicized? Does anyone know? Is there a text distribution?
They really aren't advertised. It's kind of word of mouth, Jane.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
They have a little calendar newsletter thingy, but you
Yeah.
can only get
Well,
them-
that makes sense because people are not necessarily, some of the seniors won't have the latest phones and whatever. By the way, I love your mask. It's gorgeous.
Oh, thanks. It's fun. I'm having a great time. I hope you all are too.
We are.
And as always, because it's a Zoom class, I'm miserable because I can't see what you're doing. It's very frustrating.
That's the way I feel too, because I don't know how to do it on screen. So anyway, at least I could send it to you.
But you can click on those little square boxes on the one
Uh-huh.
on one of the sides, and it will give you a choice if you want to see the gallery or the
Mhm.
individual ones, which you could click. When you click on one person's
Mhm.
image, you will see what that person is doing or wherever the camera is facing.
Okay.
I'm going to
I
suggest
see it on,
perhaps you two ladies meet somewhere
on
to
YouTube.
talk about
Yeah.
this. But now I'm going to ask you both to please mute because we have a few minutes
Mhm.
of work time left.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right, so what time is it? Okay, we have Have 5 more minutes. All right. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. So unfortunately, one more minute until we stop.
Hi, everyone.
Heidi, can I just tell everyone the
Hi,
name of the artist
everyone.
for next week?
Of course.
So the name of the artist for next week is Maya Lin. She is Chinese American, and she is a sculptor, most famous for the monument commemorating the people who lost their lives during the Vietnam War in Washington, D.C. You're going to love her work. Her current work especially is about the environment. Very, very beautiful work. And I'm going to put her name in the chat box for you. I also put for everyone the location where Ebru and I will be for the art walk and where the students from this class will be located for the art walk on Saturday. It's all in the chat box. And now I'm putting Maya Lin's name in the box. And I think everyone now is on my email list. So I'll be sending out an email about Maya Lin and the materials that you'll need and the project that we're going to create next week. All right, Heidi.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Just asking the
All right.
people who are a part of the artwork or walk for Saturday to just stay on. Thank you.